That is Ireland's biggest margin of victory ever at Twickenham, 42 points to 21. They have blown England away. England, to all intents and purposes, out of the championship title race, but the Irish still very much in it. And with a chance of the Triple Crown, the Irish with Wales and Scotland. Home games to come. The French out on top. The Irish hooker Dan Sheehan is with us, and Ireland are going on a lap of honour around the pitch, Dan, and you deserve it. Congratulations. Did you sense a big performance was coming?
Yeah, you know, we're such a hungry group. We believe in ourselves a lot. You know, we've probably been in the pump of the media quite recently, and you know, we knew we had a lot of Irish support here. We tapped into it well, and I think we came out of the blocks extremely well. And you know, that performance right there is right up there with one of the best we've had. Absolutely.
Were you a little bit bored of the Ireland regenerating conversation?
Yeah, I think we stuck together really well and sort of ignored that. We have a lot of belief in this group. You know, everybody that we need is in the group, and when we all come together, we can make special things happen. And you know, to get a win in Twickenham and see this Irish crowd, yeah, it's pretty special.
Enough of me. Some very happy Irishmen to ask you some questions.
Yeah, time and again, I don't know, there's been a few instances over the course of Andy Farrell's tenure where there's been some doubts and uncertainty, but you know, on at least a couple of occasions, you've completely flipped it on its head and blown opposition away. What kind of words does he have this week to kind of go, listen, there's a performance here, it's building well, just present yourself and deliver what you're capable of?
I think he just reminds us that if we get our systems going right, we have a plan to beat anyone. And you know, I think we saw it out there today, the way we wanted to play rugby. We wanted to, you know, put pressure on other teams. You know, all this talk of England putting pressure on other teams by playing in our half, and you know, I think we counteracted that really well with our plans done well. And you know, I think Faz gives us incredible belief, even when times are, you know, you look on the outside of the group and there isn't a whole lot of belief in the group. So yeah, I think Faz and the whole coaching team has done a great job of just making us believe that we can do it and we can put out a performance like that today.
Yeah, Dan, and the set piece was always going to be vital today. How did you reflect on last week and then build into the big performance this week?
It's probably the one area of the game that we didn't actually perform again, really, but you know, I think that's just something we're going to have to make sure we keep an eye on over time. Teams are getting incredibly good at scrum, at bowling, and you know, we want to play obviously a nice brand of rugby, which you know, involves passing the ball around and having forwards operating at high levels. So we need to make sure that we can also do the set piece stuff as well. So that's definitely something we'll focus on. But yeah, we probably got away with it today in that way.
Was confidence, sorry, Johnny, was confidence just the only missing link? You know, because you have all the structures, you have the quality. Was it just a little bit of a low ebb?
I think when you're in a away ground like this, like Stade Francais, it's the way you start. It kind of, you know, we started poorly over in France, and it kind of seeps in, and you can feel quite isolated on the pitch, and then everyone gets a bit low, and it's hard to turn that around. I thought we did a great job coming out of the blocks. We said to each other inside, first 10 minutes, blow the load, you know, your legs will follow you after that, and I think it just got us into the game. People were on top of the grass, bouncing from moment to moment, and created special moments for each other.
So you said you came out the blocks, you felt really good at the start. What is it in this team, when you see you guys doing something, what is it you see that makes you think, yeah, we're going well? Is it forwards carrying? Is it speed of ball? Is it those outside backs today? What made you feel good today about your performance?
I think we're playing at the line. You know, nice. We have multiple options at the line that, you know, keeps defenders guessing. We got a few nice line breaks there. And then it's also in defence sticking together and coming up with big turnover moments. We had some massive moments, whether it be on our own line or in our own 22 of lads who are unbelievable poachers, or forcing a knock on. And you know, those moments in a stadium like this just give you incredible life.
But some of that scramble defence was incredible. And I guess people never really look at that, but that could be so much of the secret there. You never gave up. You were into position quick. And some of those moments, it just took the wind out of England's sails. They think they're there, and suddenly they're penalty 40 yards out.
Yeah, like, you know, England coming off the back last week, we knew they were going to come out with intent, and we needed to match it and try to beat them in the first 10 minutes. And you know, those sort of big moments where someone scrapes back and makes a tackle they shouldn't be able to. They just, you know, you're bouncing to that line out, you're bouncing to that scrum, and then you're on top of the ground, and then you have this Irish crowd here as well that sort of, you know, it's mad the amount of Irish people who get a good day out of this early kick-off, have a fantastic night in London now.
They will, Dan. Thank you very much for your time. Go and join the celebrations with your teammates over there. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. Irish eyes are definitely smiling. What about Maro Itoje? The occasion of his 100th cap, not the way he'd have wanted to mark it. Here he is with Topsy Ojo.
Maro, a disappointing afternoon here at the Allianz. Tell us where it went wrong for your team today.
You know, I guess the first half we turned the ball over too much. When we did get in their half, we weren't clinical. But ultimately, you know, I think just as players, we just have to own it. It wasn't the result or performance that we wanted. So as players, we have to take responsibility and make sure we're better.
It was a similar feeling in that first quarter to last weekend, where previously England have got off to a good start, but again today you just didn't quite get that area right. Can you put your finger on why for 2 weeks now that hasn't quite happened for you?
Ultimately, we weren't accurate. We got again into good positions, and when we were there, we didn't either come away with points or we didn't score. So it's, look, as we know, is not good enough, and we'll be working harder to get it right.
And you have 2 weeks to fix it now into the next Italy game. What are kind of the priorities that you might look at first and foremost that you need to get right for the next fixture?
Well, we need to look after the ball. We need to look after the ball. We need to make sure our possessions are accurate, because ultimately we turned the ball over too much in that first half.
Well, Maro, commiserations for today, but congratulations on the 100 caps.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Some of the Irish fans still here. Rory, I remember you winning the Grand Slam here. I remember you beating Johnny's World Cup winning team. Those were great days, but this is as good as any of them, isn't it, from an Irish point of view?
Yeah, I think it's probably the shock factor as well. Just the lack of expectation. Comparatively, they were a great team. I suppose ours was a bit of a shock, but they blew England away today. And when everyone's talking about could it be a blowout for England, and it transpires to be the opposite, you're kind of a bit flummoxed. It's like, how did that happen? And I think it's just about Ireland building their way into the game. I mentioned at half-time a couple of big defensive sets to hold England out, and then they let their attack game go, and they took their opportunities. And England looked like a real, like they had huge vulnerability. Defensively, I don't think they had the hunger or the aptitude that Ireland had. So there's a few things that Steve Borthwick and his team need to go away and rediscover in themselves, because you're not going to win Six Nations, and you're not building appropriately towards World Cups if you're going to play with kind of almost a sense of not entitlement, but belief that fine will be okay. It's not. Six Nations is a tough competition to win, and every team can beat everyone, as we see today.
And as I said to Dan Sheehan there, because all the chat has about been regeneration, as Andy Farrell left it too late before the next cycle of the World Cup. Those Irish players over there have gone, well, put that to one side, thank you. We're very good as we are, whatever generation we are.
Yeah, I think sort of Drico mentioned the word, and Dan said it a lot, belief. I think the second half showed a lot about the belief they have. You know, we said at half-time, are they able to come out and push on, get that next score and build? But they did more than that. They dominated that second half really as well. So that says about the confidence and belief they have in their ability and the ability the team has.
Chris Robshaw, former England captain, has joined us as well. Chris, you and Johnny know whatever England team, when it doesn't go well, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of media chat. What do you make of what you saw, and why have you seen what you've seen?
Yeah, look, I think the disappointing thing is it might happen once, but to have it 2 weeks in a row is really disappointing. And a really disappointing thing today is they just looked a little bit flat. Ireland spoke about the things that they no talent, the kick chases, McCluskey running back. It didn't really matter if Marcus Smith scored there, but he ran back, he stopped that try, and it was that type of unseen work that went really well for Ireland. And unfortunately, England were on the wrong side of that today.
Johnny, what do you make of what you've seen?
For me, that game was kind of a carbon copy of last week's game against Scotland. You know, Ireland got off to that fast start. England showed signs that actually, if we hold our shape, we can be in this. And it gave that sense of promise that you're kind of like, if we just do that, this game isn't gone. And after half-time, as Rory said, you're sort of thinking, look, here's the opportunity, come in, let's hit this. But it just goes the other way. And I think there is maybe a danger. Teams are starting to look and think, England is susceptible in a way that Scotland sort of like pushed a bit there in the outside channels, but England have, there's no doubt we've got the talent in that squad, but it's a case of continuing to learn what these lessons are and come back stronger. But for me, there's been, you know, just this calm, composed side in terms of the decision making, the clinical nature and the precision around the handling, the attack, the set piece, the penalty, all that stuff, plus this other side of like ridiculous energy and work rate. And those two need to go together, with one not turning you frantic and the other one being so clinical, but you're just not really there. So there's so much in this squad, and they'll come back. But as you know, as Chris said, 2 games in a row, and with one of those being at Twickenham, it's like, okay, big challenge.
And 2 slow starts, Chris. Why would you... I mean, you might start slowly one game, and then this week you'd be going, whatever we do, we don't start slowly again, and yet they did. What would you put that down to?
Yeah, look, that was a disappointing thing. They did look flat, and especially with Maro Itoje's 100th game, with losing last week, there would have been so much talk about, we've got to start quick. This Ireland side are under pressure as well themselves. Didn't quite expect that performance. But yeah, for whatever reason, and that needs to look within the squad now, and they need to take ownership, because as much as the coaches do to prepare the players, make sure they're right, everyone needs to take that ownership and really step up and say, you know, analyse myself and be really critical. And unfortunately, we may see more kind of heads on the block on the back of that, and it's not a nice place to be when that happens.
No, absolutely, you know all that. It's interesting, a couple of times you mentioned those defensive sets early on when it was 0-0. It's easy, 42-21, to forget about that. That's absolutely critical moments.
Momentum is key in sport, it really is, and you know, they get in early on, and then they get a bit of confidence and they relax, and then pass the stick a little bit more, and they get into their shape. They're held out, and Ireland are able to relieve pressure, and then they get into their attack game, which we talked about, and it clicks and they score, and then their confidence levels are up. So it always
and they know they can rely on their defence as well. They're confident in their defence because they proved it early
totally,
on.
And then they're working hard because they've gotten results early on where they've held them out, and they're like, oh, okay, we've got a good defensive game in us today. But Test match rugby's on a tightrope. It really is. It swings one way or the other, and today Ireland just got the momentum and they built the confidence, and that doesn't mean that carries forward necessarily for the next few weeks, and it doesn't mean that England can't turn it around as well. So that's why it's exciting, this competition, to watch, because it changes so quickly.
I think some of that change also in some of the work on the floor, turning ball over. From an attacking perspective, you're gaining that momentum, you're on somewhere, and you just sort of go, oh, because the whole thing goes penalty against, 40 metres the other way up the touchline. Ireland were great at that today, and we've been speaking loads about England doing that, and yet today it was mostly the England fans and team that were kind of finding themselves going, oh, not again. And it just breaks it up too much, and before you know it, 20 minutes has gone, and those 20 minutes you think you could be scoring 10, 15 points. Suddenly you've just been backing and throwing and toing and throwing, and you're suddenly realising now you're 20 points down with 15 minutes to go, and it's kind of at that point, and that's, like I said, carbon copy of Scotland a little bit.
It really was. Rory, I want to give you the chance to big up some Ulstermen, because they're maybe not up till now the most heralded players, but particularly in the three quarters, they've had a big impact today.
Yeah, they have, and probably throughout this championship, even in the disappointing performance and result in France. Stuart McCluskey was Ireland's best player there. He's been the last couple of weeks. We talked at half-time about the speed and X-factor that Rob Balogun gives you. So it's, yeah, look, they've obviously been playing very well for their province, so it's really good to see them step onto this stage. And Ireland need as many of these players stepping up as they can, and that was the big difference today. It was big players, but actually all of them to a man stood up and had big performances.
And England have never lost to Italy. If I were Italian, Chris, in 2 weeks' time in Rome, full, I'd be going, with our pack, this is our moment. England are a bit vulnerable. That is a serious challenge for Steve Hawke.
Yeah, they are. And look, England have got that week off now to recover, kind of lick their wounds, all that kind of stuff. But what Scotland did last week, what Ireland did today, is almost they didn't mix it with them up front. They didn't mix them out, driving scrums, mauls, all that kind of stuff. Their forwards kept the ball alive. Ireland's forwards' ability to tip the ball, someone else through a hole, was superb today. And unfortunately, just England didn't react well to that. Players were jumping in, some were going out, and it just looked a little bit disjointed. So from an Italian point of view, I think they're going to try and move the ball around a lot.
Yeah, listen, these are the big challenges you need, because we said after the Scotland game, this game looks a bit different. Now, after both these games, that Italy game looks different. You know, in maybe before the tournament, you're thinking, okay, planning your route. Not that anyone looks too far ahead, but now you're going, right, what does this game mean? And you're looking, like I said, for that composure for guys to go out there and maintain that sense of clarity, direction, and say, this is what we're doing, but that ruthlessness underneath. And once you rediscover that, confidence comes very, very quickly afterwards. But if you don't have it, teams have a lot of fun against you. They see it, they feel it in you, even without getting near you. They can feel when you walk on the pitch, you're not quite, is it quite there? So that work, 2 weeks to get that back, it's going to be exciting, and we've got a big game.
Thank you, gents. It's why we love the Six Nations. It's never predictable, whatever you think. Thank you very much indeed. And we've got more live Six Nations action tomorrow. Antoine Dupont's France entertain the impressive Italians in Lille. Jill Douglas and the team, 2:20 ITV1 and STV. And the tournament takes a break next weekend, and then we're back in a couple of weeks' time with coverage of Ireland-Wales, Friday the 6th of March, 7:20. Then on Saturday, we'll be in Rome with England, 3:45.